There we go. Good morning. It's Monday, June 1st. I hope you all had a good weekend. I worked. It wasn't terrible. Could have been better. Could have been worse. But we survived. Talk about some stories that I've seen over the interwebs. I'll try to remember to share this out. Always not always my best thing to remember to do, but I'll try. Let's see. Oh, this is different. That's not what I'm used to seeing. Weird. Hmm. Good morning, Bobby. Welcome in. How was life in Boston? We've been good weather, just cooler, like in the 70s, low 80s, mid 70s. So not terrible. Mm. Ah, coffee. Need coffee. Found a new coffee, not a place. It's they are mobile and they actually set up at the hospital that I did my clinical instructing at, but they bounce around to different communities. So I'm going to catch them tomorrow morning. They have a bucket. They still have a bucket. Good morning, Amanda Donnell. Welcome in. How was your weekend? I worked. It was okay. Bobby says it's supposed to be beautiful today. Rained this weekend. Yeah, we got a lot of rain last week. Flip my camera. Did I not do that already? Nope, I guess I didn't. They changed the setting on this. There we go. Thank you, Amanda. Yeah, it used to be like a toggle button. Now it's like this like weird icon that sits at the top. So she's like an immediate producer in my ear. Flip your camera. Flip your camera. Your weekend was blah. I have a microbiology test today. Ew, gross. Oh, and I see it zoomed out on me again. Oh, there we go. Oh, I can zoom in again. Ooh. I can do that again. Here we go. Watch. Oh, that was cool. Well, have fun with that micro test. I don't miss those days. Nope. Don't miss that. All right. So Bobby was the first one in. Or how many people do we have in here? I'm just curious. Are we getting there? Yeah, we're getting there. All right, Bobby, first one in. Good morning. Time for the walk-up music. Alicia, my friend fell and hurt her tailbone. She can't sit. Should she go to the ER? She doesn't necessarily have to go to the ER. She could go to an urgent care if they had X-ray. I mean, it's a bruised tailbone is going to hurt. Like even if it's not broken, that's going to be sore for a while. But if she's concerned about a broken bone, she can go get it looked at and have an X-ray maybe. But most likely, unless it's displaced, they're not going to change how they treat it. So but always worth getting looked at. X-ray will tell you for sure. All right, Amanda Donnell was the next one in. And since she's got a micro test today, I think this song is apropos. Good morning, Michelle. Michelle from Canada is up. It's 3 hours earlier where she is, so it's like 3:36 in the morning for her. That's really, really early to be up listening to my live, but I appreciate you. I'm glad you're here. And there's your walk-up music. Betty Jean White, welcome in. Betty White from Beyond the Grave. That is dedication. And she also works weird hours. Mr. Clean, good morning, sir. Are you on your way to work this morning? I'm off today. It doesn't mean that I don't have things to do. I've got a lot of stuff to do today. I got to regrout the master bathroom. I've got to paint some doors. Um, clean the house, laundry, all the usual stuff. Mr. Clean, welcome in. Betty Jean White's retired nurse. I don't know what Betty White's middle name was. Maybe it was Jean. Well, I'm glad you retired. It's what I aspire to be one day as a retired nurse. Corey Temple from Seattle. I used to live out in Tacoma, Washington. My brother still lives out there. Well, not in Tacoma, but he lives thereabouts. But yeah, I love the Pacific Northwest. Yeah, Michelle's in British Columbia. Ah, the woolly hat. Thank you, Michelle. It's too warm down here today to be wearing the woolly hat, but this winter, man, we're gonna be wearing that thing a lot. I guarantee you that. Zayla, Sapphire. I gotta ask, best way to get rid of a migraine. I've had one for the past 6 hours. Migraines are tough to get rid of with over-the-counter medication. But you can certainly try the normal over-the-counter headache treatments. Find a dark room, minimize, you know, screen time. So as I don't like to discourage people from getting away from my life, but in this case, if you have a migraine, the screen is probably not helping. So you just need to kind of take away all that stimulus and find a dark place and just rest. And stay hydrated. That's the other thing. One of the things, if you come to the emergency department for a migraine that you can't break with your normal treatment plan, fluids are going to be part of the deal. So stay hydrated. Bella Vita says cold cloth on the back of the neck. I mean, a lot of things is like whatever works for you. So El Massey, good morning and welcome in. So I've read that there's no evidence to support the blue light glasses do anything. I don't think there's any. I think that's kind of a gimmicky thing that they add on, but I've seen stories and reports that say that there's no benefit to that. I could be wrong. How often do I see undiagnosed cancer? Not often, but from time to time, it does happen. People come in for these random symptoms, and they get a scan or imaging, and it comes back, and we find a mass or a lesion that is concerning for cancer. Now, it's always concerning for because it usually will require a biopsy. We can't always tell them for sure they have it. It's like, hey, we found this mass. We aren't really sure what it is. Could be cancer, but until you follow up with an oncologist and they do a biopsy, we don't really know. Now, I'm sure there's some things that they can say right away, but usually it's concerning for, and you need additional testing that we don't need to do in the emergency department. That's something that has to be done outpatient. Thoughts on sickle cell patients in the ER? I don't see a lot of that where I'm at now, but at other hospitals, sickle cell crisis was not that uncommon. Those patients require immediate and adequate pain relief because that is an extremely painful condition to have, and it needs to be treated appropriately. Heidi says, goodies, headache powder for the migraine. I don't know. I've never dealt with migraines personally, so I'm lucky I don't have to deal with that. Now, my wife has dealt with that. It's been a while since she's had a really bad one, but she had to go to the ER one time and got the migraine cocktail, and I think hers included maybe Compazine. I know it definitely included 50 of Benadryl, which knocked her out. So 50 of Benadryl would knock me out. One Benadryl would knock me out. Let's see. What happens to the money in my pocket when I'm involved in an automobile accident and rush to the honestly, we're not even thinking about it. Like, I run EMS, I'm not counting change. If you are in an automobile accident, I gotta get you what we call trauma naked, which means we're cutting everything off, and I don't know what happens to the clothes at that point. It usually gets left in the vehicle or left on scene, and somebody will clean it up and put it back. But as an EMT, that's not my concern. So, and obviously, it shouldn't be yours either if you are in an accident that bad. And then hopefully, when you go back and get the remnants of your car, and before they total it, you can collect your belongings. I've been in a car accident myself, and I was able to go back and all the stuff that I had on scene was still in the car. It was totaled, and I got to go through and pick everything out before the record company took it. Have you ever dealt with a hip location? Not a true hip. No, not a hip dislocation. I've never seen that before. Trauma strip. Michelle calls it a trauma strip. Nice. I've seen hip fractures, which are not really when we say hip fracture, usually what we're talking about is the femur, the where the neck of the femur is. That's what we people call a hip, like a hip fracture. Love and Life 1992. Thanks for the follow. Added some new music into the live stream playlist. I can't believe I neglected Hootie and the Blowfish. That's a necessity. Let's see. I'm super busy with work lately, and we have our inaugural event for FIFA. Oh, that's right. You guys are doing the FIFA World Cup stuff. Christopher for the Blakery content. Welcome in, sir. How are you doing? How is the FAST conference going? I saw your post in the group chat. Man, I'm so happy for you. Brendan, am I a fan of the pit? Yes, I'm a big fan of the pit. Love that show. Hey, I got hurt at work and my right hand is numb. Tendons, is this bad? I don't know what the mechanism of injury was, but if you're having numbness after an injury, you need to have that evaluated by a physician. As someone on the other end, anything left in your car is safe until right. That's how mine was. And like I had an opportunity to go to the where they towed it, get whatever I needed out of it, and then because it was totaled, I didn't get it again. It wasn't mine. Am I retired now? Good Lord, how old do you think I am? No, I wish. Yes, go see a surgeon. I've cut open my eye before and it healed all good. Have you seen anything like your actual eyeball? No, I've never seen that before. We're getting new uniforms just for FIFA. Oh, that's what it takes to get new uniforms is a World Cup. If a patient has end stage heart failure, do steroids cause unwanted fluid retention or other negative effects? Um, I don't know. That's a good question. I've not seen a patient in end stage heart failure on steroids. I mean, so I do know that steroids can increase blood pressure. So I'm not sure that that would be the appropriate treatment there. Does it annoy you when people go into the ER for things they could easily fix at the GP? So yes, at one point that did kind of bother me, and that was something that was, it's always been a, you know, kind of a punchline for a lot of ER, personnel, healthcare workers, whether it's doctors, nurses, MPs, PAs, whatever. But when you got to take a bigger step back and look at healthcare in this country, getting access getting access to healthcare is a challenge. It's very expensive. It's, not everybody can afford it. Not everybody's job offers that. So those folks that don't have access to primary care, the ER is their only option because they're required to be seen, by law. It's called the EMTALA law, and they're entitled to what they call a medical screening exam. So you walk into the ER, you have a complaint, you're entitled to a screening exam by a qualified, medical professional. That could be a nurse practitioner, a physician's assistant, or a doctor, and they're going to evaluate you and determine if you are stable or if you need additional resources. And in most cases, they're going to do something. And then whether or not you can afford to pay is irrelevant. They can bill you, but if you can't pay, can't pay. I mean, they can go after you, but a lot of people don't care. They just want treatment and they're like, "Yep, you can send people after me." But a lot of hospitals will try to work with you on a payment plan or reduce cost or something like that. So early in my career, yeah, that frustrated me when people would come in because you would get annoyed. But now, it doesn't really bother me because it's not a lot of times it's not their fault. It's just the way the system is set up. It's not set up to make it easy for them. And so the ER is often their only option. It's job security for me. Good morning, Oscar Rios. Welcome in. Casey, do you have any people come in from basketball injuries? Sure. Rolled ankles, usually. Wrists, if they fall, we call foosh, falling outstretched hands, like wrist injuries, ankle injuries. Seen a couple of tib fib fractures. How long before AI does your ER screening? Oh, that's Gary. Gary Larry. I I'm sure it's coming. I know that they're already using AI for telephone triage in some places, is what I've heard. Peyton's an ER nurse in Arizona. Welcome in. Thanks for joining us early where you are too. Uh-oh, troll patrol on duty. We have trolls in here? I didn't see any. Natalie, for a dislocated kneecap, should you call an ambulance or go to the ER by car? If you have somebody to drive you, I think that would be an appropriate way to get there. I think the if somebody is readily available to take you, and it's not a particularly long drive, and you can withstand the pain. Now, I've never dislocated a kneecap. Now, I know it's a fairly, I say, fairly simple process to put it back in, but typically you're going to want to have some pain relief on board before they do that. Amanda Donnell says they just added AI to do our head to toe assessment. Like in terms of do you narrate to that and it writes it for you? Because I've seen AI scribes where you dictate and it puts all your notes together. And I know that a lot of places are using AI to do the discharge as well. Will male nurses be judged in I want to try nursing, but it's not as much as you think it is. Males, the percentage of males in the nursing workforce is like doubled in the last 20 years, I think. I mean, it's still it's still low percentage. I don't know, like 15% maybe. I'll look it up. Look at that. It's literally my computer's literally listening to me because I typed in what PER and the very first option is what percentage of nurses are male. Talk about AI and like technology just monitoring what you say because I've never searched that. All right. So yeah, I was close. 12 to 13%. So I said 15. So I overshot a little bit, but I was pretty close. And only 10% globally. But it used to be 7 to 8% just 20 years ago. So mine was pretty close. I remember what I read was pretty accurate. Mercer's Rise. Mercer's Rising. Ooh, that's a good name for an account. AI discharge makes perfect sense. Honestly, everything. Well, I just saw a study that came out, and I'm not sure how they managed it or like what the metrics were, but essentially, AI discharge summaries or after visit summaries (AVS) is what we do. We do AVS. After visit summaries written by AI were more comprehensive, and patients understood it better than they did by the ones written by the physician or the PA or MP. So, AI is here. It can be used in good ways. I think it just needs to be better regulated. I feel like it's kind of a wild west out there, and anything goes. I want to ask a question on how I've been treated by my. You can go ahead, ask a question. We'll give you honest answers in here. Mr. Clean, male nurses will be the favorite when lifting or boosting a patient. Yeah, I just did a post on this. Yes. There's a guy I work with, and he is like, dude, his arms, like, look, I work out. I feel like I've got pretty good arms. This dude puts me to shame. I mean, the dude can legit, when I say can do 1,000 push-ups in an hour, he can actually do them in about 38 minutes. He's a machine. When he does them, it's just nonstop, and he shows no signs of fatigue. His arms and chest, dude, he's like 60 years old, like ex-military, and oh my gosh, that's what I'm aiming for. I want to be able to do that kind of stuff. He can do the Murph, no problem. He does the Murph with a weighted vest. He is old school, but he's also like-minded outside of nursing, and one of the reasons that we get along so well. Your dad is a male RN. Love it. I'm old enough to have kids who are adults. I have an adult child, and it's weird. Oh, is it Christopher's birthday? Oh, no. You're officially old. Did you turn 50? You're not 50 yet. No way. Are you 50? I'm not sure what your threshold of old is. I feel like once you get 50, you know, I think that's safe to say you can be old. Chat 72. Look, the older I get, the further the goalposts get, right? So 72 is not as old as I used to think it was. Hunter Hill, getting all the stuff together during a visit should only be dictated by AI at most. 45. Yeah, you're not old yet, dude. You're still a young man. You're 6 years younger than me. He's 70 and still nursing in the ER. Oh, I hope it's because he likes what he does and not because he needs to. I don't want to be working on it when I'm 70. Ames, good morning. Welcome in. Good morning, ma'am. Oh, he works in PICU? Everyone's doing good. It's Christopher from the Blakery content. It's his birthday today. He thinks he's old. He's 45. 45 is not old. I'm doing good. I didn't sleep great last night, but I knew I wasn't going to because I slept for like 8.5 hours the night before. So I got really good sleep that night. Are my comments getting flagged again? Possibly. I'm not looking at my phone, but I'm not seeing any comments flagged. Oh, dude, I did a post on this. I'm just now discovering All Time Low. Like, how did I miss out on this band? Now, I remember this song, but it didn't do anything for me. It didn't, I don't know, it didn't register with me. But now I'm like, I can't get enough. And I'm listening to other songs they have. Oscar Rios is 45. Damn. I know, right? Like, how did I miss out on this? I don't know where I was 25 years ago, but I clearly wasn't like listening to this music. Like, I just like got that kick drum. My right foot's got the kick drum going. Probably shaking the camera. Oh, let's see. There were a couple of things I wanted to talk about. I got to get my notes pulled up though. Let's see. Oh, um, this is some Nurse Erica did a post on. If you don't follow Nurse Erica, you should. I mean, I think a lot of people do in nursing know who she is. But she did a story on Multi-Care Good Samaritan Hospital. I'm not sure where they're located, California maybe. Um, but they had an internal memo with their management team, and I guess it got leaked or something like that. And one of the topics was they referred to like meeting with a union rep to discuss some concerns. And one of the concerns was, and this is how it was titled, how colored nurses are treated. Now that wasn't the union rep. That's not how they phrased it. That's how the executive at Multi-Care Good Samaritan Hospital phrased it. Like that. Like, oh my God. Like it's 2026 and there are still folks out there referring to black and brown people as colored nurses. Like, oh my. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, good grief. And the other thing I want to talk about, um, I'm trying to think. I saw a doctor post about this, one of the doctors that I follow, and she did a post on this new treatment available for people with pancreatic cancer that essentially doubles their life expectancy. Now, it's not very long. Their current life expectancy is just over 6 months, but this new treatment is more than doubles. It's like 13 point something months. So, again, it's not a cure by any stretch, but it is a huge, and I guess in terms of research and development, that is a huge leap to double the life expectancy of somebody. And I know somebody who has had pancreatic cancer. Who was a former University of Virginia former basketball coach, who I actually got to know and respected, and she liked me enough that when they had a NCAA tournament watch party, like to see if they were going to get invited, I was the only journalist she invited to her home, which I considered a great honor. So, yeah. And so that's great news. You know, it is. It's like, I mean, that is a literal death sentence when you get that diagnosis. Very few people. Uh-oh. Troll Patrol. Michelle, thanks for the hat and mustache. Catch up on some comments here. Gary, have you listened to My Chemical Romance or Hail the Sun? I've heard of My Chemical Romance. I know a couple of their songs. I've not heard of Hail the Sun. No. Is that a band? No, I've never heard of them. Mr. Clean, we have a nurse on the pick team that's in his 70s, works PRN and loves it. Oh, yeah, that's good. Like, as long as you enjoy it. Me personally, I think I would enjoy not being at work when I'm 70. Like, I want to travel. That's what I want to do. What did I not notice? There's a lot of things I don't notice. Legal Nurse Leads, welcome in. Good morning. All right, I'll have to check them out. Amanda Danelle says, yes, I want to travel too. Oh, you sent something? Oh, I must have missed it. I was off screen reading up on the stories that I was talking about. Sorry, I missed it. I didn't mean to. I ordered a new monitor. Oh, look at that. I did see that one. The glasses, the star goggles. I love it. Pinned a comment. I had to do CPR after a bystander. How do you get over that? Oh, that's, as a bystander, one, kudos to you for jumping in and doing what needed to be done. I know that's not an easy thing to do. It's something I think nurses and EMTs take for granted. Like, we just do it. It's what we've been trained to do. We've been doing it for a long time. But for a bystander who is not used to that, to jump into that situation and actively work to try and save somebody's life, that is huge. The adrenaline, I can't even imagine. It's been a long time since I've had an adrenaline rush like that. But so first of all, kudos to you and thank you for doing that. How do you get over it? Talk to somebody. Talk to somebody who will listen, and if that's not enough, go talk to a therapist. There's nothing wrong with that. That is a traumatic event for somebody who's not used to dealing with it on a daily basis, and yeah, it can mess with your head a little bit. So my advice is talk to somebody. If it needs to be a professional, do it. Help process that information. Michelle, I was in the mall the other day and some kid ran in screaming after getting me. Oh my gosh. Like, yeesh. What was the circumstances behind that? Like, arbitrarily maced, or like, did he do something, or I don't know. So anyway, I ordered a monitor so I'll be able to see more because, like, right now I can't see comments from other channels, and I often miss those because I don't have a big enough screen. I just have this MacBook Pro, and it has a very limited screen space. I treated him and ended up needing oxygen after fire, and my coworkers came because I breathed it in. Ooh, that's not good. Yep. And, like, you forget too, you don't know what the kid's screaming about, and then you go to immediately help him, but I don't know how they do it in Canada, but we have Scene Safe BSI. Gotta take care of yourself first so you don't end up the patient. He was 13. It was an argument between kids, and the person who maced him was an adult. Is this a older white person by any chance? Tips for sudden fatigue and dizziness. If it's new onset and there's no obvious explanation, you should go see a doctor. Now, after I mow the grass in 100-degree heat and it takes me 3 hours to do everything, I can explain that fatigue and dizziness. That's of my own doing. But if you don't have an explanation like that, then you should go see a doctor. Have I used Narcan? Yes. I've used Narcan in basically every form you can give it. MacBook, like, blocked? What? What? I'm a Mac guy. Big Mac guy. Got an iPhone, the MacBook, iPads. I had an Apple Watch, but I can't stand Apple Watches. I got a Garmin Venue. Love it. Best watch out there for me. What's your beef with MacBooks, Mr. Clean? Look, the only problem with MacBooks or any Mac product, Apple product, is they last forever. I had a desktop MacBook that lasted more than 20 years, and it got to the point where I just had to get rid of it because it couldn't update, not even security updates anymore. The software was so old. Samsung all the way. I think Samsung for I think we have dishwasher. No, not dishwasher. We have washer dryer maybe? I don't know. But no, for computers? Really? No. Agree to disagree, sir. Living too far north has affected your brain. Too many cold winters. Do you see a lot of bike injuries? Not where I'm currently at, because I work at a VA hospital. Not a lot of them are riding bikes. But when I was at regular hospitals, and now as an EMT, we have a mountain bike park nearby, and we get a lot of calls out there. People wiping out a lot of broken collarbones, a lot of dislocated shoulders, um, wrist fractures, all that kind of stuff. What advice would you give for someone wanting to go to the ER? Like work in the ER or go to the ER to be seen? Assuming you're talking about working in the ER, I guess assuming it's nursing, because I'm a nurse, I would say if you're not currently in school and you're just curious about the ER, reach out to the nurse manager or the director of the ER and ask if they have a shadow program where you can shadow a nurse or staff for a day or a shift or whatever, and then kind of get a feel for what life is like in the ER. Michelle, but I got a free Mac battery because it happened at the Apple store and I was there. Oh, gotcha. So the nearest Apple store to us is like 2 hours away, 2.5 hours away. I know I tried using an Android phone like 10 years ago, and it was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster. The problem I have with Android phones, at least this used to be the case, I don't know if this has changed, but whoever your cell phone provider was, Verizon, AT&T, whatever, Sprint, showing my age, they controlled your updates. You didn't get to update when you wanted to. Like when they rolled out a new Android update, that was not in your control. That was up to whoever you bought the phone from or whoever you had your service through. Apple's not like that. They come out with an update, you choose when you want to update it. Oh, I need to check over here and make sure there's no other comments. Negative. Life in the big city. Yeah, I haven't been in a big city in a long time. Is it worth it to work at the VA over a normal hospital? It depends on what you mean by worth it. So in the ER, it's probably going to be depending on which VA you're at. If you're in a VA that's in a big city, you're going to be busy like a regular ER. But if you work in a more rural area, it will not be as busy. So if you like that kind of chaos and you like trauma and stuff like that, my ER is probably not the place for you. I got a lot of that in the first part of my career, and especially during COVID, working level 1 trauma during COVID. I feel like I got my fill of that. And so I'm okay with a more subdued ER. Perfectly okay with that. I also get I also get paid pretty well. And so when you balance out the nurse to patient ratio, how much I get paid, it's a really good job. I complain about it sometimes, but every job's going to have those days. But we have a saying in my ER: a bad day here is better than a good day down the street at the other ER. Because there I'm going to have 5, 6 patients maybe, and they're all going to be super, super sick, and it's going to be a bad day. And the lobby's going to be full. People are going to be waiting 8 to 10 hours. Everybody's grumpy. So, and there are some people that need that chaos. I'm good. I've reached that point in my career. I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to put in, I got 14 more years. I'm going to put in 14 more years and I'm going to retire. Now, our assistant manager just got promoted to full manager. So there is an opening for an assistant manager position. I've already had a couple other nurses reach out to me and say, hey, we think you'd be a good fit. We need one of ours up there to kind of protect us. Would you consider it? And I don't know how I feel about that. If I have to go 5 days a week, I'm not doing it. If I could do 4 10s, I would consider it. But that means the live show would go away. Couldn't do the lives. I should take it, but I couldn't do the lives, Amanda. I'd also take a pay cut. Initially, I would take a pay cut because I don't lose all my shift differential. Yeah, pay cut. No, I think I would make that up over like 2 or 3 years. I think my step increases would go up and I would end up making more in the long run, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to leave the bedside. Don't do it, just saying. Yeah, I'm leaning towards not. Part of me might just apply and go through the interview process just to say I went through it. But yeah, should tell nurses how to work towards retirement and have money. Oscar, I have a whole podcast episode with a financial advisor and planner who works exclusively with nurses, Ricky, the financial guy. So if you go to anywhere you get your podcast, find my podcast. There's a whole episode dedicated, and you can follow him, Ricky the nurse. Ricky is the nurse's financial guy. His name's Ricky. You can follow him, and he gives lots of advice to nurses on how to best prepare for their retirement. Ames, our assistant manager got promoted to the manager position. Our manager left in August, and they just now got around to filling that position. So the assistant manager position is now open and posted. And I had a couple of people that I work with come to me and ask if I would consider applying for it because they feel like we need one of ours. Or that was a nice way of saying we don't like you and we want you to go away. So go apply to be a manager and get out of here. Either way, they came to me. Miss Debbie, thank you for the Daily Heart Me. I appreciate that. Conquering, should I call out of work if my lightheadedness and fatigue gets worse with, I'm assuming, like exertion? If you're not feeling well, like it's your sick leave, but if that's something new for you and it's getting worse, you should probably see a doctor about that and then get a work note. So what do you think, Ames? Apply for assistant manager? Blech. I'd take a pay cut initially. I'd lose all my shift diff. I'd be off weekends and holidays. I'd also lose that pay, but I'd be off every weekend and holiday. Michelle says in British Columbia, you don't need a sick note anymore for work. Oh, that's good. Not everybody requires one. Some managers and jobs are like, we don't care. Like it's your sick leave. Now, I think if you do 2 or 3 days in a row, I forget what the threshold is, but sometimes like, well, if you take 3 days off in a row because you're sick, we need a doctor's note to verify that. Really depends on your employer. There's no like federal law or anything regarding private businesses. Ames says, nah, not unless you want to climb the admin ladder. Not particularly. Or they were saying you were really good at your job because they think you would like, be good at it. I don't know, maybe. Yeah. Like our manager now, he was a floor nurse. Like worked in the ER. He was an ER nurse, and then a few years ago, our assistant manager, unfortunately, was diagnosed with a very aggressive form of cancer, and he passed away within about a year. And then our current manager stepped into that assistant manager role temporarily, applied for it when they opened it, and he got the job. And then when our main manager retired after like 40 years, he eventually moved up. So now there's an assistant manager position open. But outside of that, like I've not been really impressed with the management, generally speaking. One, because I don't know who any of them are, you know, like once or twice a year they roll through the ER like I'm supposed to know who they are. And it's because they don't come through and talk to people. And so I don't know who they are. Check it out at least. Yeah, I thought I might apply and just see what it's like. But yeah, if I had to go 5 days a week, heck no, I'm not doing that. That's a long drive. I'd lose money because I'd be go driving more. Gas is expensive. Cost me over $100 to fill up my truck. Would you be on call to cover shifts? Yes. If the ER, if like night shift, they only have 3 nurses at night. If one's on vacation, this happens. If one's on vacation and one of the other ones calls out, yeah, guess who gets to come in and cover that shift overnight? Assistant manager does. Let's see. The post I did, Ames, I'll be curious to get your thoughts on this. It was the post I did on calculated manual drip rate. A lot of strong feelings in the comments section there. That's gotten a little bit of little bit of traction. And there's some I think the one thing that really surprised me about the comments in that is from nurses, which really shouldn't surprise me. But there are a lot of nurses in there leaving comments that are very dismissive, very disrespectful. And but that tracks, right? We've got nurse bullies out there, and these are the ones that I'm reading these comments going, "Oh, you are totally a nurse bully. Like would absolutely bully somebody that you work with." Like that is like people leaving comments, that is a pointless and worthless skill. Like there is no reason to be teaching students how to do calculate a manual drip rate. And I'm like, or they'll be like, I've been a nurse for 20 years. I've never had to do that. Okay, well that's good. That's good that you've never had to be put in that position. I have. I worked level 1 trauma during COVID, during those really big waves where our ICUs were overrun and they had all of our pumps. And we didn't literally had no pump channels in the ER. So we were either running to gravity, boluses or whatever, and then other ones we had to calculate drip rates. There's a reason we teach that in nursing school. Do you use it often? No. Do we have technology? Yes. But at the same time, that is still a skill that I think is worth knowing. And it's not like I'm making them do it every single clinical. I gave it to them one time. Figure this out so you understand the process. And some of the comments from other nurses were just, I mean, really disappointing. I called a couple of them out. And we don't have dial-a-flows. I've worked one hospital that did, and those were great. I love dial-a-flows. Holly, what type of pain management can y'all use if someone comes in and has surgery and is on methadone? For, non-opioids. So Toradol would be one. Depends on how far out they are post-op, but usually post-op they could do Toradol. Like I know after my surgery, they put me on Toradol PO. I think like max was 5 days. I think that's the max for it. Right, the formula is not hard. And the other people are like, "Oh, long division is, we have calculators. No one needs to know how to do that anymore." And I'm like, "That's how we lose knowledge. When we rely solely on technology and nobody understands the why or like how to do it." Yes, are they always going to have access to a calculator? Probably, either via computer or their personal device, they'll have access to it. But still. And then one was like arguing back and forth and I left a comment. I said, your comments are now bordering on disrespectful, and I don't know if that's how you intended it, but that's how I'm receiving it. And I said, and I can't tell from your profile if you have any clinical skills. What is your level of expertise in? Are you a nurse? Because I can't see that, and I've not received a comment back. So maybe I will. Right. So like, I didn't think I would ever have to use it. I had a CVICU nurse teach me how to do that. And at the time, I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, we've got a pump right here." But yeah, I had to figure it out. And I was like, I remember that. To this day, I remember that experience. And it came in handy when I actually had to do that. And Jen, that's exactly what happened to me. Like we didn't have any pumps and I had medications that could not be bolused. So that's why the little roller clamps are there. That's why we still have pumps with roller clamps on them. Aim says I ran out of pumps on it. Oh, sure, because you guys don't you can only carry so many. And I just happen to be one of those nurses that had to use it in my career. Oscar, what are we talking about? You know what's cool? Calculating heart rate in a 12 lead, 1500 little over little squares between the R and R. Those are like I got to put my reading glasses on. Like those are so little. Let's see. What is this for non-narcotic pain meds? I love my Journavix. I've never heard of that. Jen, I agree. I think people have become way too reliant on technology. Maybe that's just me being older, like and getting older and be like, no, I used to use an abacus. Like I counted with my fingers. No, but I still think that's a valuable skill. And like I left in comments, y'all are acting like I make them do this every minute of every day. No, during 5 clinicals, I made them do one problem, and that was it. And it was a very simple problem. And I just want them to understand how it works. So if they ever find themselves in that position, they'll have some idea of how to do a manual drip rate. I don't know. Hey, frankly, I agree. Look, one of the things I learned when I was going through the Echo Heliops Future Flight Crew program, one of the things they drill into you is before you do anything invasive, you need to have a plan A because plan A can and often will fail. So you need to have a plan B, and then you need to have a plan C. And if you have time, think of a plan D. But you got to have backup plans and a backup to your backup. And so that's one of the reasons that I'm always thinking ahead. Like when I'm looking at a patient, I'm thinking things like we had a STEMI come in. Dude was not like he was white as a ghost. And I think he'd been having pain for like 3 days. And of course he waits to come in. And like my mind's already like racing around. Like, what are we gonna need? You know, what other resources? So like while the nurse is getting everything done, there's other folks doing things. But I am, you know, slowly moving the, airway cart over there. I'm, you know, doing all the other things behind the scenes because I'm thinking, okay, if they do this and that goes sideways, what else do we need to do? The other thing we don't do a lot of at my ER right now is that we don't bolus a lot of fluids. That was commonplace at the other 3 ERs I've worked at. You need a liter of fluid, nobody's putting that on a pump. You just run it wide open. Caveat to that being, if there's a history of CHF, you're not gonna do that. But here, all the docs wanna run it like 125 an hour, 250 an hour. Our newer docs are like bolus it in, but they'll still put 999 over 1 hour. Michelle, we mainly do manuals here. Pumps are for inpatient or IV therapy. Do you guys use what is that one method y'all use? It was like the clock method or whatever. I never learned that. Sherry says you're the nurse I either want to work with or care for me and my family. I appreciate that. Like you know, I'm not the smartest nurse, but I do make an effort to be the best I can be. Mother, how did you not go crazy after 8 years and then working the ER during COVID? Yeah, that's why I think I was happy to kind of step away from it. I miss trauma. I miss it a lot. I know and I've said this many times. My mental health does not, but the part of me that wants to operate at the highest level I can, that is what I miss. I miss working trauma because I trained for and spent a lot of time getting ready for those really bad situations so I can function in that. And then I'm not there anymore, but I know that my mental health is better because of it. Good morning, Matt. Welcome in. Yes, I agree, Matt. Like when I get an order for an ER patient and it says 125 an hour, I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, what are we doing here?" Like this is a floor order. This is an admission order for fluid resuscitation. This is just keeping them at a bare minimum hydrated. Yeah, Ames, do you know what the clock method is that what it's called? I don't know. It was like for, like, doing dopamine or, dobutamine, they would have, like, this little dial and I don't know. I've never learned that. I've tried to learn it, and it just doesn't register with my brain. No, like, yes, part of me wants to do trauma, but I enjoy not being, like, stressed all the time. I'll have to look it up to see what it's called. Uh, let's see. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's the clock method. That's what it's called. Often called the dopamine or lidocaine clock, is a mental math shortcut used in ambulances to quickly calculate IV drip rates without a calculator. I've seen it. I've watched the YouTube videos. Just go to YouTube and look up like paramedic clock method. Yeah, see what it did to me, Michelle? Like what's the toughest experience working trauma? I think for me the toughest experience is when the family like when it doesn't have a good outcome and the family come in to be with their loved one. I think that's probably the worst part. Yeah, Jamie says the same thing. 100% the family. Like I've learned to accept losing patience. That's just part of the deal. Um but I think when the loved ones come in and they're faced with that reality and the pain that they have, that I think that's because everybody can relate to that. Like everybody immediately, I would imagine, tries to empathize to the point like, who in that room could be my loved one? Like which of my loved ones would that hurt the most for? And so yeah, I think, that's probably for most clinicians that work trauma, that's probably the hardest part. It's not the act of losing a patient or the scenes and the trauma. It's the family afterwards. I would say that the only caveat to that would be, pediatrics. Like, those are really hard, like, regardless of the family. The family especially, but losing kids is always hard. Yeah, Jamie Ann says in peds, yep. I've been doing this for 20 years. We've, become numb. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yep, exactly. Mr. Clean, seeing elderly people pass never bothered me as much. Yeah, same. Yeah, same. Older folks, like I always feel like, hey, you had the opportunity to live a good life, whether you did or not. It's totally dependent on you and is irrelevant at that point. What is done is done. But when it's kids or really young people, that's hard because like it's usually through no fault of their own and they didn't get a shot to do the things that they were hoping to do one day. Yes, when you can relate to that kid, and I've got kids like 8, 10, and 21. So my my kids cover pretty much that whole range. How we doing on the tappity taps? Everybody doing good on the tappity taps? I'll help you out a little bit. And all the relatives are in crisis mode. Right. Yeah, and you can see the stages of grief start happening. And one of the things that I have never been like I can do it. It's not what I'm the best at, is talking to the family afterwards and being with them and answering questions. It's not that I'm not empathetic, it's just that I don't always know what to do, you know? And so I'm rarely the one that does that. Even with being on scene as the paramedic that has to give the news. Yeah, see, I have never like on scene, I've never had to deliver that news because 'cause I'm not a paramedic, I'm a basic, and so if there's a paramedic on scene, they're the ones that do that, or the officers will do it. But usually it's the paramedic. If we worked one like we worked a code just a couple weeks ago, and it was the paramedic. When we called it, the paramedic stepped away and went and talked to the family. Kyle Busch thing is questionable. I'm thinking he probably had, like, we were talking about that at work, and I feel like he definitely probably had that pneumococcal bacterial infection that turned to sepsis. Yeah, sepsis is no joke, and he's probably not even thinking about that. He's young, 41. He's probably not thinking about, being septic. Yes, Michelle, I have a 21-year-old. I mean, I'm 51. I mean, I was 30 when I had my first one. I even started late. Jamie Ann, I can't tell you every story of adult patients that I've lost, but sure. Yep. I'm with you on that one. Oh gosh. Mm-mm-mm. You feel like a baby now? Oh man. Yeah, I know. Sometimes I feel old, but I feel a lot better now these days. Ames, so nice. We played it twice. Have you ever spoken up if a doctor disregarding a female patient in a way they wouldn't disregard a male? Um, I don't recall ever having witnessed that. Um, I have pulled a resident aside to talk to them about how they treated a female. It wasn't deliberately, they weren't deliberately, and they weren't even inappropriate. So I'll set the scene. So I had a resident who was doing their ER rotation and they had to do a pelvic exam and they needed a chaperone. The catch to that was it was an all male nurse crew, literally all male nurses in the ER at that time. And there was no one else to chaperone. So it was me. And we checked with the patient if she was okay with that. And she said she was okay. So we go in there. He prepares everything. I had everything at the bedside for him, the speculum, the lube, and all that kind of stuff. He did not warn her before he went in. He just went in and he wasn't thinking anything of it. And I afterwards pulled him aside and I said, "Hey man, um, usually they like to be told what you're doing when you're doing it. Like, so before you touch them, like you got to tell them, you got to walk them through everything." And his eyes got real big and he was like, "Did I not tell her?" And I said, "No, you didn't. You said you just went in, like you didn't say anything." And she was really, really surprised and like uncomfortable. She didn't say anything, but I saw it. And he went back in. And to his credit, he went back in and apologized. And he was very gracious with me. And he said, "Thank you for letting me know. I did not mean to do that. He's still learning. But I hope he never made that mistake again." So, but I've never seen a doctor do that to a female patient, like because they are a woman. At least not that I'm consciously aware. Maybe I have and I didn't notice it and didn't think anything of it. I would like to think that I'm fairly progressive enough that I would have said something. I try to be. I feel like most people don't realize how important nurses are until they end up in the hospital. Probably when they realize how much the nurses do. What is the most jarring thing you've seen? I would say family neglect. Like when patients come in, gosh, this just happened here locally. It was in the newspaper, so this isn't any. This is how I learned about it. It was in the newspaper. I was not part of that call. It was my agency that ran that call, but I hadn't heard about it until I read it in the newspaper. But yeah, the rescue squad I run with, they picked up a patient who had been neglected at home, elderly patient, and she died. Like they got her to the hospital, but she was already like on her way out. And the family members were arrested for elder abuse and eventually charged with, you know, what they should have been charged with. And I think we see that a lot: elder abuse, neglect, that kind of thing. That's why it's so important when we triage these patients in the emergency department to ask them about their safety. And if you're not asking family members to step out when you ask those questions, you got to. It can cause a scene. It can make people uncomfortable, but you just have to explain to them this is for their safety. These are questions that I have to ask them directly. And unless they're altered, if they're altered, then they're not going to. You can't really trust what they say. But usually, you got to have them step out, and that includes everybody, like partners, other family members. I'm going to need you to step out for a minute. I got to ask some questions. Just be very respectful about it, and then say, "Hey, Once they're out of the room, do you feel safe at home? You know, are these people taking good care of you? Are they threatening you? Are they forcing you to sign papers? Those kind of things. But that's why it's really important to get them alone. Now, do they always answer honestly? No, but at least you've made every effort. I'm glad I took your advice and we got an leg checked. I have to. Oh, good. I mean, not good that you have blood clots, but I'm glad that you got checked out and they were able to find them. So I would imagine they probably started you on some type of anticoagulant, depending on what other meds you're taking. So usually, what we do when we find one, if it's stable, usually just start them on an anticoagulant and then have them follow up with, um, vascular. Usually is what we do. Kiwi, you seem awesome. I try to be a decent person. It's a work in progress. you know, I don't ever put anybody up on a pedestal. Like we all have our flaws. I have my days, but I do strive to be the best nurse I can be, the best dad I can be, the best husband I can be. I try to do all those things. I am nowhere close to being perfect. I make mistakes in all facets of life, but I try to learn from them, own them, and when I get called out, I try to own it. It's not always an easy pill to swallow when people tell you you're wrong. So Lisa Magical, I don't know if she's still in here. There's a post I reposted about Norco. It was on my top 10 list of medications given in the ER. And during that video, and that's been out for more than a year, and nobody has said anything. Lisa Magical messaged me and said, "Hey, I have a question about this. I thought it was regarding Vicodin and Percocet." And in the video, in the script that I had written, and I was using a teleprompter, I had put in there that those 2 medications were standalone opioids. They are not, and I know that. Um, they are combination meds. But for whatever reason, in my script, I didn't catch it. She did, and she messaged me and was seeking clarification. She wasn't like, "Hey, you're wrong. Like, you're an idiot," which some people do that. When they find something wrong, they'll come in like, "You're obviously a terrible nurse. You don't even know this." But she was very respectful, seeking clarification. And I immediately was like, "Yo, you're absolutely right." And I immediately posted a comment on the original video, which didn't have a lot of views. So I'm not really, I'm glad. But I did post a, a comment that clarified that. And so Vicodin actually initially had like 500 to 750 milligrams of Tylenol in it. And the FDA cracked down. They were seeing, I guess, an increase in um, overdoses of acetaminophen. And so they regulated how much you can add to opioids. And now I think the limit is 325. Can't have it any more than that. But at that point, I think eventually they just pulled that. Vicodin is no longer an option. Now Percocet still is, but that's different. That's oxycodone and Tylenol together. Vicodin was hydrocodone, which is what Norco is. So Norco is basically Vicodin light, is what it was. So, but anyway, and those are the kind of things like, yeah, and there's no need to be confrontational. People make honest mistakes. And if you find a mistake I've made, and for a while, actually included that in my videos. Look, if I've made a mistake or you see something in here that's incorrect, let me know and I'll fix it. I'm do my best to give the most accurate educational information. Um, but that video I did on clamping a Foley with bladder, like a severe bladder distension and a very full bladder. Um, you know, I posted that, and there was actually an instructor who said, "Wow, we are still teaching that," and I provided the evidence. I sent her the up to date, and she goes, "Wow, like we're still teaching bladder, like clamping the tubing. We're gonna have to change our practice." And so I sent her the up to date. So yeah, sometimes we're slow to update. Sometimes we make mistakes. Yes, I think it was 2011 when the FDA came down and said, "No, you can't have more than 325." I want to say it was 2011. I'll take a quick peek. Let's see if let's see if it's listening again. Let's see. Yep, January 2011. They announced a mandate to limit the amount of acetaminophen in prescription opioid combinations such as Vicodin and Percocet to a max of 325 per tablet. And they were required. That was when they announced it. They weren't fully required because obviously there's manufacturing things they've got to go through to make. They can't just flip a switch and do that. So they had to fully comply by January 14th of 2014. and all higher dose combinations were officially discontinued. Yeah, and prior to that, it could go up to 750. So there you go. Lisa Magical. Fun fact, I did a research project that proved that heparin was not needed in art lines. Oh, really? I wonder if that's also why we don't do hep locks anymore. Remember when we used to do small dose heparin locks? Now, I was not around for nursing to do it in peripheral IVs, but when I started my career, we would do heparin, like 500 units of heparin for power ports. So, Donna, I think the issue was people were taking these, but then they were also taking extra strength Tylenol in addition to all of that, and that was putting them over the 3,000 or 4,000 that's recommended, like the max dose. I think that is what the issue was, and that's why they took it back and limited to how much they can put it in. Yes, yeah. So the Tylenol overdoses are your liver is what processes that, and your liver has something called glutathione. And as long as you don't exceed the recommended dose, glutathione is enough to break down the NAPQI, or I call it NAPQI, which is a byproduct. And so basically, the glutathione, the the metabolized Tylenol, it takes that NAPQI and it can get out of your system. When you take too much of that, you override your natural stores of glutathione, and it can't. And then that's what leads to the liver toxicity. And then there's a rubric. Oh gosh, Matthew something or other, and like you just basically take your levels, and you can kind of determine um, what level of overdose they have. What is that? What is that rubric called? No, I always forget the name of it. Let's see. Rumac Matthew nomogram. That's what it's called. I try, Snoopy. I do love my job. I'm a second career nurse. I chose this knowing full well how difficult it could be, or at least as educated as I could be. Misconduct, thank you for the daily heart. I appreciate that. Thanks for stopping by this morning. And I have taken care of some Tylenol overdoses. My doctor almost exclusively prescribes standalone narcs now. I see. Yeah, we still do a lot of Norco. Like that's a pretty popular one. I don't see Percocet very much anymore, but I do see a lot of Norco. Misconduct, thank you for the go popular. Appreciate that. Just chilling in a car before work. Just made a set of earrings. Cool. What do you make them out of? I would 3D print them. Weird question. Okay. We get lots of weird questions in here. You're in the right place. Tylenol is common in psych patients, like overdoses. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, start low and then they can add that in later. Charms and tiny, tiny key rings. Oh, okay. I printed this for a buddy of mine at work. He's a big Ghostbuster fan. And so he's like, "Hey, could you 3D print that for me?" I'm like, "Sure." He goes, "How much do I owe you?" I was like, I don't know. Buy me a hot dog at the hot dog guy. We got a guy that sells hot dogs outside the hospital. He's got a hot dog truck. He's from New York, like just typical street vendor New York guy. How long have I worked in the ER? I've been in the ER for almost 9 years now. Let's see. I have this mark on my leg that kind of looks like a lightning strike. I don't know where I got it, and it won't go away. Dermatology. That'd probably be who you need to go to, depending on like if you have insurance that requires referral. You probably have to start at your primary care. But yeah, if it just showed up randomly and it's I would get it checked out for sure. I'm still learning. I've only had it for like a month and a half. I'm still trying to figure everything out. I got to go clean it. It requires some maintenance now. I've used it enough that I've got to go through and do all the greasy wheel, you know, lubing up and stuff like that. Yeah, I would get it checked out for sure. I don't have no idea what that could be. So I just saw that one of the bands that I like, Glimmers, is gonna be playing nearby next Thursday. Is it next Thursday? Yeah, not this coming Thursday, but the following. They're like the 11th, I think. I'm debating whether or not to go see them. It's like 2 hours away, but that's as close as it gets. It's not quite 2 hours, like an hour and 40 minutes. But that's as close as any of the bands that I like are getting to me. So the next closest was down in North Carolina, which is too far. Would I rock a free tie-dye shirt? I'll rock any free shirt. Do I need more t-shirts? Absolutely not. But yes, I would. Why do most nurses hate us for I don't hate rad techs. Who says that? Oh, should no, like, look, if people send me free t-shirts all the time, and I'll wear them. Yeah. Anna sent me a free t-shirt, I wear it. Educated Nurse sent me a free t-shirt, I wear it. Um, Rogue Nurse Creation sent me a free t-shirt, I'll wear it. I don't hate rad techs. Rad techs are great. Ours are really good. I got 2 more minutes. Even though the kids are out of school for the summer camp start today. Tennis starts at 9 o'clock, so I gotta go get the older one up and get him over there. Now tomorrow morning, after I drop him off at camp, I'm gonna drive, down the road a little bit, and I'm gonna get there's this new coffee truck that opened locally, and the videos I posted one of them, and one of the things they sell is like a bucket. It looks like a mini bucket of, like, coffee or a latte or something like that. Anyway, they actually set up shop at a hospital that I have, worked at, or, like, I was a clinical instructor at. So, and the line was long. So, yeah, it's like these 2 cousins that set it up, and they just seem so passionate. They're so cute, and, they're just you can tell they love what they do, and so, anyway, they gotten good reviews, and I love a good coffee, a good local coffee shop, so I'm gonna go try it. Alright, that sounds good. I'm down with that, and then whenever whoever shirt I wear, I always give them a shout out. This one I bought. Michelle, hello. Send me a private message. Yeah, go ahead. Lisa says, "I love my rad techs." Our rad techs are awesome. Oh, sweet. Oh, I got some good news, Michelle. Oh, I love good news. Way to start a Monday. I need good news on a Monday. Oh, that'd be awesome. Oh, not good. Oh, no. Sorry. I read that wrong. Oh, no. Oh, what is Monday? I'm sorry. See, Matt, and that's why I like our rad techs. Our rad techs help out. They'll help us out. Like when they know we're busy, rather than call us and say, "Hey, can you bring us this patient?" If they know we're busy, they will come get the patient and say, "Hey, can I take 14?" And we're like, "Yes, please do. Thank you." Oh, I'm sorry, Michelle. What's your take on narcolepsy mixed with I'm not well versed in that. I don't know much about that. I have to do some reading. The Megan Marshall, welcome in. Happy Monday to you. That's okay. We're getting ready to pop off here. I've got to go get my 10-year-old up and ready for tennis camp. So he's going to tennis camp. He's actually, I mean, this kid is anything he tries, he can be good at. It's just a matter of sticking with it um and actually putting in the time. Like in baseball, he struggled with hitting in his first year kid pitch because the pitching is so erratic, and he was really frustrated. But he's a really good pitcher. He can throw really hard, and he's a switch hitter. He throws right-handed, but he bats left-handed. But he can also bat right-handed, just like me. I could switch hit. I was a natural righty, but I could also switch hit lefty. In tennis, he has actually shown his. We had private lessons for him, and the coach was like, he could be really good if he sticks with it. If he puts in the time, he's shown a lot of natural ability. So his thing is he just gets so frustrated. Like, if he's not perfect with everything, he gets so frustrated. And it's just like, dude, relax, man. Just have fun with it. But he's so type A. Like he wants no. But we are gonna go see the new Mandalore movie today. I'm taking the boys to see it this afternoon after tennis camp. Come home, we're gonna have lunch, and then we're gonna go see the movie. Because then tonight he's got rehearsal. He's in the summer musical, the local production, so he's got rehearsal tonight. And he's not in the ensemble. He is going to be part of the ensemble, but he actually has a role now. So this is his third musical, and he has now got a role. So very, very excited. He's easing into it. Like, it's Lego release day. What are we releasing today? And thank you for the thumbs up. I appreciate that. I am in. And after when I get back from dropping him off at tennis camp, I've got to regrout the master bathroom. Not all of it, thank God. That would take forever. Just part of it. And then I've got to paint. I got to do some painting, and I got to do lots of laundry and cleaning. It's bathroom day. I got to get the bathrooms cleaned. Might have to do that tomorrow though. Not gonna have time to do it all today, especially if we're seeing a movie this afternoon. 50 plus sets being dropped today. Oh boy. My 10-year-old is a big Harry Potter fan and Lego fan. We've got so many Legos. We've probably spent, I don't know, $5,000 on Legos at least. Almost 200. I used to try and track the sets. There's an app that you can track them and inventory, but they're scattered all. There's not a single thing that's still together. It's a good movie. All right. I'm looking forward to it. We've watched all the series, so all right, folks, it's that time. I got to jump off here and go get that boy up and ready for camp. Another Lisa, thank you very much for the daily heart me. I appreciate that. Thank you all for stopping in. We'll do this again tomorrow morning at 6:30. And we'll do our usual thing. If you have anything you want to talk about between now and then, shoot me a direct message. And as always, be kind to others, be kind to yourself, prioritize your mental health. I'm Gary, the ER nurse. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning. Have a good Monday. And for those of you on YouTube and Substack and Instagram and Twitch and all those other channels, thank you all for stopping by today. I appreciate you. I hope you all have a wonderful Monday. We'll be back tomorrow morning